Woo! Why? I always ask you not to shake. First thing we do. We log on. Never mind. What's up, guys? What's up?
Hola, amigos.
Happy Tuesday. Happy Andor night, or happy already Wednesday / Andor day for those of you. Don't you dare. Oh my gosh. For those of you across the pond, across literally the other side of the globe. How's it going?
¿Cómo están ustedes?
Simply, Charlie, Alice, Aden, Dan the man, Nathan! Sorry, I always freak out whenever I see Nathan in the stream because I feel like I just have that memory of the one time you popped in when we were literally saying bye. Nathan was like, hey guys! He literally had just gotten here. And I was like, no! Lord Fowl, Sean, gang is all here. How's it going, everybody? So yeah, we didn't really have today's stream. I was super busy today, so I didn't have much time to think about a topic. And I've just gotten into the lazy habit of asking you guys to pitch me topics on Tuesdays pre-stream. So today's I feel like the majority kind of the, oh my god, what's the verdict?
Consensus.
Yes, consensus, whatever. I think the theme for the night is going to be just talking about, we haven't really talked like everything that's going on.
There's a lot going on, folks.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
We've done separate, like, isolated discussions about each particular show. Yes, I'm here from the beginning, says Nathan. Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so happy. There's always somebody, though. It kind of does the rounds. Like, everybody, I feel like, at one point or another has popped in right as we're saying, all right, bye, guys, love you. And then somebody always hops in. So it happens to everybody. But I'm glad you're here, Nathan. It's good to see you. My ancient enemy cat has returned, says Dan the man. Good evening, Cat and Tom. Good evening, Jerry.
Evening, Jerry.
But yeah,
How's it going?
we've not we've discussed everything individually, but we haven't really talked about everything. I guess the times, like, just like when is, I feel like it's like when the sun and everything's like aligned perfectly and then it doesn't happen again for another like 1,000 years or whatever. I just botched that comparison, but you know what I mean, when there's like a celestial event, kind of like what might go down tonight in Andor, but when there's something major going on and you're just like, enjoy it now. Or like, I feel like whenever I was growing up, my dad would like get his telescope out and he would be like, it's a red moon, it's only happening now and it's not gonna happen again for another 50 years, come see it now. And it would be like 10 o'clock at night and we'd be like, no. I feel like that's how this is with not just Andor, not just Rings of Power, but how's it like all the triple threat. Truly, it is we're going for the triple crown here. So we have I mean, I've talked a little bit about how I was very like almost alarmed, like shocked around the planning of the decisions to release. I mean, I guess you can't really even decide since they're not on the same streaming platform, but there's got to be teams working for each platform to help like make decisions when it comes to planning and marketing and like, all right, when are we releasing this bad boy? And I know there's a billion factors that go into when a show can be released, but I genuinely I'm still stunned that the stars aligned, that Rings of Power and House of the Dragon were released at once, like at the same time, essentially back to back. There might be spoilers. I mean, we're not really going to talk much about, I mean, we can talk about whatever we want.
What do you mean no spoilers? This whole thing's going to be spoilers.
Yeah, we'll probably be discussing, you know, all three shows, all the events that have transpired. How much do you want for that shirt, Tom, says Dan.
I'll take 200 for it.
Tom gets so many compliments on this shirt. It's unreal.
But if you look on Amazon, you might find it for like $25. But I'll take 200 for it.
Alice has a great freaking comment question right off the bat. If you could only pick one of these shows, would you choose Andor, Rings of Power, or House of the Dragon? Shit.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this whole discussion should be focused on like comparison, pros, cons, what things do better than the other shows, and just trying to compare them. I think is very interesting.
Well, that's the problem when one show is doing really, when you have three big mega, I would call these like the blockbusters of TV streaming, like the blockbuster shows and huge franchise names. When you have three of those going off at once, it's hard to watch one do really well and then be like, well, why can't X be happening to the other? Like, oh, the writing, oh, this was such a good episode of X. Why be like this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just inevitably get pitted against each other and you just end up comparing, even though, like, House of the Dragon is a completely different aesthetic, themes, setting, you know, it's more fantastical, medieval dragons. It's more in line with, like, Rings of Power. But I still compare it with, like, Andor, which is more sci-fi galactic, you know, that type. Bruh, get that Grogu out of here! Aiden, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Aiden.
We'll hit him with the.
Thank you. You know what? All right, I don't want to hold on to him the whole time because I end up just being distracting about him. So I'll put him back here.
Here, Dan. I'm sorry. You can just take it for free.
Leave Grogu alone. You dare overcharge Dan the man. House of the Dragon is starting to get really, really good. I know. So yeah, let's just dive in. What do we talk about first? We never answered Alice's question. To be honest, I tried watching House of the Dragon, but it's not that satisfying for me. And my question would be, would it be so popular if it didn't have all the R-rated content? Because I don't think so. That is one thing. I have been comparing. That is one thing that does really set House of the Dragon apart from the other two. It's definitely not family friendly. Rings of Power and Andor are way more family friendly until recently. The latest Rings of Power episode was, whoa! We'll get into it, but that is something that isolates House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones franchise in general. It's extremely mature and has sometimes I think gratuitous, but sometimes important for the storyline, more grotesque, like, you know, blood, gore, relationships, stuff like that. Excited for Sly more. Thank you. Discuss this. Yes, that's happening. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I am excited for that. It's gonna be a good episode tonight.
Back to Alice's question. I think it's tricky, and think I would actually go with Rings of Power.
Really?
No.
Are you serious? Yep. Explain.
Nope. I think of the three universes, the Game of Thrones universe is easily my least favorite one.
Okay.
And then in terms of story and impact to the and the events that it's describing about between Star Wars universe and Middle Earth, Rings of Power is a much more high stakes event. If it's going to talk about the forging of the rings and Sauron's rise to power again, like that's massive. Although so far, I think Andor is the more captivating, better show from a storyline perspective. I think Rings of Power has a very, very bright future ahead of it. Especially after the ending of the last episode, which was awesome.
I'm honestly surprised, but actually not, because I know you're a big Lord of the Rings fan. See, I think, don't hate me for this, y'all, but I'm in the thought process of, after hearing you talk, Andor's been great, but we got a buttload of other, we have so many other Star Wars shows, Star Wars content, like other shows in the pipeline. Like, we know, I feel like that one can be the first to be eliminated because there's so much other Star Wars. Like, I don't need to just watch Andor to get my Star Wars fix. If we're talking, like, what would you rather be the only thing you can watch? Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, or Game of Thrones franchise? That's a whole different thing. But if we're just pitting those three shows against each other, I think Andor is going to be the first to go because there's a lot of backup. and I
a good
can watch other Star Wars things.
That's a good point.
Rings of Power, you are very right, has a really big future ahead of it. You know, the direction the show is going, and in terms of the storyline, like, it will have a very satisfying, you know, contribution to the overarching franchise. I'm gonna read. Thank you for the super chat again. I want to address this quickly before I go on a rant. Oh, and you are great people. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. You guys are some of my favorite creators. Thank you for all that you've done. Oh my gosh, that's
Thank
so
you.
kind. Seriously, thank
you.
you. Literally,
That's very nice.
I don't even think of us as like content creators or YouTubers. So when people say that, like, I remember, like, oh, there's a whole pool of creators and we're amongst that, like, I guess. So thank you. That
Not
means
me.
a lot.
I'm just here to chat. I'm just here to hang out.
You offer good.
She is the
You offer good commentary.
the mastermind, genius, and editor, and all that stuff.
I knew she secretly hated Andor. No, damn, don't interpret that. Don't interpret that. Put Andor against Book of Boba Fett. It's no question I'm axing Boba with a double saber. Oh, yeah. That could be a whole other stream, pitting the Star Wars shows against each other, which maybe we'll do like a... Now that there's already like a handful of them, maybe we can do a tier list, you know, at some point, maybe even next year when we're getting more shows. That could be interesting. But anyway, skirt back. Rings of Power, yes. However, House of Dragon is a very, like, detailed show, not just in terms of script and storyline and character development and casting, but just the skill of the production. Like, I don't quote me on this, but somebody told me they're not beginning filming for the next season until next spring, so we probably won't get the follow-up season for House of the Dragon season 2 till 2024, hopefully on the earlier end. But like, those shows have so much. I mean, obviously Rings of Power has $1 billion budget, but like, House of the Dragon, I still think at times looks better because...
Yeah, because it's much smaller scale.
Well,
like,
they're able,
the,
yes.
The majority of the shots in Rings of Power are these massive, expansive landscape shots. There's only like a handful of those in House of Dragon.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you so much. I don't super chat. Yeah, no, I'm glad. But I just wanted to say thanks, Kat, for putting out all the videos while staying busy, my friend. Also, Axe Oil for life. Oh my god. If you know, you know. Yeah, just an update in case anyone cares on my cockroach battle. It has since disappeared. So, will it return? Stay tuned.
How do they know about the cockroach battle?
Because I mentioned it because I was late last week. This time last week, we streamed, we wrapped up here, I got the room ready. We had a little bit of downtime. I had 4 minutes left before I was literally about to get on stream with Zach and Alex. I went to get a glass of water and the cockroach was in the kitchen. So I had to freaking fight my way out of there. I was fighting for my life. Tried to trap it, tried to get it. It wouldn't come out. I was like, I can't do this. I have to go stream. So we were late starting the stream. So I took the heat and let everybody know I'm fighting a single war because you weren't helping me against a cockroach. I was in there. I'm like,
I was probably asleep.
Come help me. I was like, help me.
Probably knocked out.
No, you were right there on the couch. What? Anyway, she has a roach. All right. You know what? All it takes is having to see one to realize it's not that bad. It's just freaking annoying how I am the bigger species and somehow they are still dominant because they have the leg up because they can freaking squeeze anywhere they want. Anyway, point is, in case anyone was curious, because I know I shared that very publicly. Colin, member for 9 months. Let's go. Can't wait for the episode. Got my wisdom teeth out yesterday. Oh my gosh, how are you feeling? But that means I don't need to work and can watch you guys. You're right. So many shows right now. Well, first off, I hope your wisdom teeth removal was okay because I know that is rough for a lot of people. Literally, not to scare you or anything, but I had bruises and I looked...
Why would you say
like a chipmunk? Because everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Why would you say that?
The following weeks after having your wisdom teeth, anything could happen. I didn't know. I wish someone had told me because I got my wizzies out and I had these giant bruises along my jawline and I was like, what the frick is this?
You are not helping.
And at the time, if I had heard from somebody as an anecdotal, yes, that happened to me, I would have felt a little more at ease. So just letting you know. Anyway, I hope that doesn't happen to you. Apparently it's rare, so I am loving my Rings of Power, but I need the Fourth Age stories to start coming through. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what the, like, segue from season 1 to season 2 is going to be. Anyway, I feel like I never answered. It's tough because I think I got it. I feel like if I had to just, again, I'm not choosing franchise, I'm choosing show. Right now, I think I would choose House of the Dragon if I could only watch one more, because also, I freaking love Rings of Power, and I am happy that the episodes are as long as they are. However, it makes it very difficult to rewatch because it's like a mini movie. Like, the latest episode literally felt like a full-blown, like, film. Like, it was so
great.
Which is, but like, I have to decompress from that. I can't just go and like rewatch it casually versus like House of the Dragon. Remember, like, I watched the pilot episode and came back out, and you hadn't even figured out how to use the HBO Max. You couldn't sign in.
It's the worst app of all time, by the way.
You couldn't sign into HBO Max,
Oh, that's right,
I had to come back out, but I immediately was like, yes, I'll rewatch it. Like, I couldn't do that with the last episode, Rings of Power, because it's just like, and it's so long. The House of the Dragon, though, like, I will rewatch those, like, I don't know, but I'll give that to Andor as well, because it is shorter. Hopefully the Andor episodes stay on this track, though. Last episode was, like, the longest one, and it was, like, 40-plus minutes, so I hope it continues in that direction. Oops, I'm scrolling, sorry, I'm behind on the chat. I lived in an apartment building that had a centipede problem. OMG. That would scare me. I'm terrified of them and spiders. Spiders don't scare me as much anymore. The thing that scares me are those thousand-leggers that you would see, like, in, I knock wood. I've never seen one here, but now that I've just spoken that into the universe, it'll make an appearance.
We go hunting.
Those are the scariest ones to me. And moths. I don't like moths. If you get a moth in your house, forget about it, because they have the high ground. Anyway, yeah, it was a good. Thank you, Alice, again for that little prompt, that little icebreaker to get our juices flowing. Give me all the Rings of Power smoke. We don't decompress around here. Man, that's just a me problem. That's just a me. Which of the shows is your favorite, and why is it House of the Dragon? I think House of the Dragon just has, I think in terms of freaking phenomenally written characters, the way the story unfolds, the tension, the build-up, the anticipation, and the fact that, like, there's something major about each episode, but major things on that show don't have to be, like, these huge action sequences. Like, there's such tension and familial drama that, like, a major thing can be just, like, conversation between two characters. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge OMG brain blast event. Like, major things transpire even just within the dialogue on that show because it is so character driven. So I feel like that's something that the other shows don't yet have. I mean, Andor, I think, would be the runner up. The script for Andor, like, is just like, wow. And these characters too are, I would say, more dynamic for Star Wars characters. Like, I want to know more about them. Like, Stellan Skarsgård's character, like Mon Mothma. Oh my god, I hope we get more screen time with her this episode coming up. I think Rings of Power, I love. Don't get me wrong, this is all hypotheticals.
No. Brain
Blast, Neutron. That's from Jimmy Neutron, right? Brain Blast. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
But I think Rings of Power, there's so many different characters. Like, there's a lot of ground to cover. Now they're kind of, some of them are finally joining together, like coming into the same arc storyline. So it might be easier to have a more, like, flowing storyline versus having to follow different people before they meet up. So, like, I don't know. I think in terms of, I don't know. We'll see what happens now that, like, it has less people to track in different parts of the map. But
yeah, I mean, House of Dragon, though, even unlike Game of Thrones, is very, like, it's just the conflict between a couple families.
yeah,
And aside from, like, the first episode where Daemon kills everybody in the streets of King's Landing, like, they haven't really given you that, oh, how is this conflict going to impact the world and the people around it. So
we have graphics.
It's very much still in the just, you know, 4 families that are fighting for power, but it's not yet turned into like what Game of Thrones was, which is, oh, how is all this conflict going to impact the entire world?
That's true.
So
the drama is more internalized, and smaller scale, but in a way, like, when it's between family and the people that you're closest with, like, it just makes things all the more heightened and intense. And I think that there is something about the format, like Game of Thrones operated similarly to Rings of Power, where you were following different arcs, and then eventually the payoff is they all start to cross paths and overlap, and then it comes together. But I think the benefit of, like, House of the Dragon, and I thought about this even after, like, last week's episode. Now, this could be because season 1, from what I'm hearing, is with all the time jumps and character changes, like, we're already getting the kids are aging up next episode. Like, we're getting new cast members, like, literally every other week for some of these roles.
The young kids are?
Yeah, like, all of, Rhaenyra and Alicent's children are going to be in their final forms, their older forms, by next week. So I wonder, I think season 1, I don't think the rest of the seasons are going to operate on the same, not formula, but pattern of time, like, covering a lot of ground at once to show how the story is. Like, I wonder if season 1 is very development, exposition, start from their teenage years to get to the point of where the conflict really starts to boil over, and then the show will progress from there. But because of the way it's constructed and the fact that it does only focus on the familial kind of scale, I feel like the events that transpire in House of the Dragon, it takes like 1 or 2 episodes for major things to go down that you would have had to wait maybe like 3 episodes for, like, or more in like the actual Game of Thrones format. I don't know. Like, for example, the sequence of spoilers, 3, 2, 1, but the sequence of Lena Velaryon dying, and then literally the next episode Aemond is already claiming Vhagar. Like, I feel like that would have taken more time to be enacted in Game of Thrones, don't you think? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Game of Thrones had much larger conflicts than
Obviously
taking a dragon.
But that was clearly a big deal for the plot.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time on that, dramatizing that, as the creators said in their interviews. And it's definitely going to come to have consequences, as Otto Hightower is conspiring with Alicent, saying, like, this is the freaking biggest win for us. Like, in the Age of Dragons, now they freaking have the biggest freaking dragon on their team. No. So, I don't know. That could just be... Everything I'm saying, just take with a grain of salt, because I just could be biased because we're coming fresh off of House of the Dragon, but I don't know. I feel like if you look at where the show started and where we are now, like, so much has transpired. Like, something major has to go down in, like, every single episode. And I'm not saying an episode isn't good if nothing eventful happens, but I mean, look what some of the backlash was for episodes 1 and 2 of Andor. Like, people expect. I think let's switch over to the Andor graphic real quick because we can talk about that now. Whoops. We have special graphics. There we go. I want to make a video about this and do more of a deep dive, but I want to hear what you guys think. I feel like Mandalorian season 2 finale was the catalyst for the Star Wars fandom, at least, to expect major jaw-dropping bombshell events from like every episode, every Star Wars project. Because if you think about Mando season 1 finale, there didn't need to be a huge cameo. People were freaking going lit over, yes, just the Darksaber, but like that is nothing compared necessarily to like Luke Skywalker, obviously, but nobody was like, that was such a lame finale.
I don't think anyone who was like, this is lame.
I thought
it was
cool.
like, yeah, it was good, but it was like, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess we weren't watching Mando. When did that come out? I don't think we watched that like together, really.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't even know. But like it was good. I think the best part of the finale of season 1 was
everyone's having a heart-to-heart in the comments. Wait, I love you guys.
What, heart-to-heart?
Yeah, simply. You're so
You're getting
sweet.
emotional in the chat.
Spoil away, cat. Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, continue. Sorry. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I didn't want to like gloss over the fact that everyone's having a moment.
Well,
I love
you guys
all.
are awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Anyway, you were saying.
Very much enjoy hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we're back. We're back
Yep.
doing our weekly streams. It feels good. We're happy to be back hanging out with you. It's one of the best parts of the week. Oh. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
I forget what it was.
We were talking about Mando finale.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I mean, Mando 1 and Mando season 2, just in general, are Mando season 2 is a much grander scale in terms of, you know, you get to see the galaxy on a bigger scale. Versus Mando 1 was very much the Mando Grogu show.
Yeah, but note how nobody, I don't think anyone I saw went on Twitter after Mando finale. Like, the buzz was the Darksaber. Yes. Buzz was the Darksaber, and people were feasting enough off of that. Like, that was enough to start sparking theories, healthy discourse, how'd he get it, Bo-Katan, like, getting people excited, like, oh my gosh, does that mean we're gonna see her? Like, how did this happen? Like, I didn't see really anyone saying that was so lackluster. Versus, like, if Book of Boba Fett had been the first show to come out, do you think people would have been... And well, I guess that would have been impossible if, like, Grogu and all that was part of the storyline, but that was a fine finale, like, in the grand scheme of things, but I think coming off of Book of Boba was the freshest project off of Mando season 2, and that set the bar extremely high, so everyone was, like, ready to be mind blown, brain blasted again. And when it was a perfectly fine finale, like, something that would have sufficed, say, if it was the first show to premiere, like, people would have still been feasting off of that, I feel like.
I mean, that's a good point. I think that's a pretty good
point. I want to do... Alright, I want to read
would,
some of this. I want to read some of this.
Finale would have hit differently than how it would have if it wasn't preceding or post...
Yeah, like Mando set
after
a high bar.
Anyway,
Anyway,
season 2.
I missed the beard. No, I like when he doesn't have one. Although it's fall now, so it probably will be coming
It's
back.
getting cooler out.
Mando came out in 2019 and 2020, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're right. So we weren't. I don't think at the time we were able to watch the show together. You both are the brightest lights in the Star Wars fandom and always will be. Damn, y'all are gonna make me cry. Stop it. Oh my god.
Whipping out the big guns tonight. Definitely appreciate that.
That means a lot. Dan, thank you so much. Anyway, but yeah, that's I want to make a video about this because I feel like that was the catalyst for people just expecting like that when Mando season 2 finale aired. Like, think about that feeling. We were mind freaking blown.
Yeah.
Emotional as heck. We
Yeah.
were like, holy shiz, Star Wars is alive.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, because we'd never had anything that level. Like, yet. And I'm not going to go into it, regardless of how you felt about the way Luke Skywalker's character unfolded in the sequels. For a lot of people, that was an extremely, like, freaking redeeming moment of reviving their favorite character.
Yeah.
Like, I've never felt like that before. Like, watching that finale and just thinking about the emotions. We didn't sleep.
No.
That night.
Not really.
We did not go to sleep.
We didn't.
It was life altering. It was life changing.
Yeah. But then in Book of Boba, we got episode 6, which was then the next greatest episode of Star Wars television.
Yeah, yeah.
If not better than the Mando 2 finale, with Luke training Grogu and Order 66 flashback and Luke interacting with Ahsoka and all of that jammed into a Book of Boba Fett episode. And it was the greatest thing ever. And then it went to the finale, which was questionable.
But see, would we think that the Book of Boba Fett finale was really that questionable if we hadn't
If it did come after episode 6, probably. If it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was, or 1, 2, 3, 4,
but
5.
what I'm saying is, I think the Mando season 2 finale was a catalyst for, at least, I'm talking about Star Wars fandom, because I know this is a similar trope in, like, the Marvel fandom. Like, people just want, where's the big cameos? Like, that seems to be a kind of trend on Twitter. I am, like, barely in the Marvel fandom. Like, I see a little bit of the discourse online, but I would say I can't speak on its issues or its discourse nearly as much as I could about Star Wars. But, like, for example, that finale, I think it's having a trickling effect because it was wild, it was amazing, it was everything, it was life-altering. And then people wanted the same for Book of Boba Fett finale. Mm-hmm. But then we saw that, like, those episodes were incredible in between. Like, those were not finale episodes, but they were freaking amazing. I would argue that episode, is that 5, where he goes to that...
To the meat locker?
Yes. Yeah. Like, that is an equally...
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great episode. Yeah. Like, I loved that episode so much, and I love rewatching that one. You have 2 really freaking phenomenal episodes mixed in between. So it's going down from, like, finale to then interspersed episodes that are amazing. Now I feel like now we're at Andor, and it was like, I think everybody's just expecting every episode needs to be on that level now. Like, we're not even just expecting it of the finale, we're expecting it of episode 1, episode 2, like everything leading up to that. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to hear everyone else's thoughts about that.
Well, I think that it goes back to, was that last week or the week before where I was wiggling my arm the whole time?
Last week?
Was it last week?
I think, because we were talking about the build-up.
Yeah, because it was mainly Andor focused last week. But yeah, last week, for those of you who were here last week, you know, we were talking about, like, story arc and plot arc, and, you know, like, when you have a story, you know, there's the beginning and then the middle and the climax and then the resolution. And so if you plot that level of, you know, story and raise towards the climax over a single season, I think that plot says a lot about how the finale is going to stick. And so if you look at Mando season 1, like, the first episode, it starts off slow, and then you go up, and then you have the huge ending with Groger, and you're like, oh my, like what is going with Groger? With Groger?
Sounded like you almost just said Groger.
Yo, Groger. How you doing, Groger? Groger. But like you think about the first season of Mando, the first episode starts, and you're like, oh, what is this? And then it goes really kind of peaks at the end with the Grogu reveal. And then the rest of the season, it's kind of each episode is like has its own little beginning, middle, and end until you get to the finale. Well, that's not true. The first 3 episodes of Mando are very kind of sequential, and then they build to the end. And then the episodes before, through episodes 3 and episodes 7 and 8 are kind of each individual plots. And then you get to 7 and 8, and it goes, it goes up, land on Navarro, and then it peaks in the middle of the episodes when Queel dies, and then the conflict happens, and then it goes off to the end. So with season 1, you have like kind of big opening, then you got some wiggling going on, and then you have the increase to the finale, and then it goes down.
Are you purposefully like?
Well, I'm mapping it out in my head. I mean, I guess you could use a whiteboard feature. Like we could.
I think we need to just get a whiteboard.
No, we don't need to get a whiteboard because they wouldn't be able to see it. But you can use a whiteboard feature on your computer, and then you can actually draw and share that. So
that would be a nightmare.
And rather than me just keep wiggling, and you guys have to imagine the line that I'm visualizing in my head. But then if you look at season 2, I think it was there was much stronger peaks in season 2 than there was in season 1. Because season 1, it was kind of one continuous arc for the first 3 episodes. Everything in between was kind of, individual stories, and then the last 2 episodes were their own story. Season 2, it seemed to me like more of a connected story than season 1. Right? Because you have the opening episode on Tatooine, and then they have the pit stop in the Spider Cave, so that's kind of, a pit stop, and then they go to the water planet, meet Bo-Katan, and then they go from there, and they go, what's the next one? 3,
another
4,
pit stop.
4
They go back to Navarro.
Yes, that's right. 4 is Navarro, and then the base. And then 5 is Ahsoka. 6 is when Grogu gets captured. 7 is
Bill
Burr, yep. And then 8 is the finale. But even then, like, I feel like those pit stops are more in line with the
Spider
story.
episode, I think.
The Spider and Navarro
but,
are,
that episode and the cloning facility, like, there were cool discoveries in all those pit stops, and Bill Burr's performance ended up being a highlight of that second season. So you're right. You're right. I love how this is a stream about House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Andor, and we're talking about Mando, but I kind of started this, but essentially. Yeah,
but Mando is more along the line of a continuous, with a massive peak at the end. I mean, massive peak at the end. And then you get to Book of Boba, and the story is sequential. It's building up. But then you get to Mando, and it's just huge vertical climb, like the slope of, plot, interest, story expansion increases dramatically at episode 5. Then you go to episode 6, and it goes up even higher. So then when you get to the finale, it's impossible to keep that slope going unless, like, Luke is involved, right?
Yeah.
And since Luke is not, and it goes back to where the story pre the massive increase of slope, you're going to get a steep drop-off.
So, actually, that raises a good point. Maybe it was Book of Boba Fett that has attributed to the standards that Mando Season 2 finale set, and Book of Boba Fett added on to that even more, and now everyone just... I don't want it to sound like a generalization, but to bring it back to Andor, it's like we're in a place in the Star Wars fandom where it's slowly becoming like the Marvel fandom, and you just want... People are waiting for those big moments, giant episodes, huge cameos that are hopefully like relevant to the story that would just be amazing. And oh my god, I never thought I would see this ever with my own eyes. Yeah. And then when Andor wasn't that, and it's all new people, a much different way of storytelling, much different forms of cinematic payoff and climaxes, like, it has different reception. I would say, though, I feel like from what I've seen, the reception has been overwhelmingly positive. I haven't even dared to, like, look at... We all know that corner of the internet, and YouTube specifically, that just freaking obliterates and dissects everything that Disney Star Wars does, like, and just nitpicks everything bad about it. Like, I haven't seen... I couldn't tell you what their main complaint is for Andor, other than it's a man of color leading the cast. Like, not to get into those problems.
I haven't seen that at all.
I have.
Huh.
You're not on Star Wars Twitter that much. This is what happens when you have a full-time job. When my job is YouTube, I'm lurking online. I'm lurking on Twitter to see what people are saying and critiques and whatnot.
No,
so,
but if you think about, Andor starting with all new characters except for Cassian and small scale things. I mean, that's where Mando started.
Yeah.
Right? And the payoff with the season 2 finale was from a steady increase in story and building of the plot with, zigzags here and there with each episode. But overall, it was a crescendo of building the plot. And then it gets to season 2, and that moment hits because of the foundation that's been laid before it. And so, when you go to Book of Boba Fett, that restarts because it's a new show. So you start at the beginning, and you build it up for 4 episodes. But then you jump to the crescendo of Mando season 2 where it left off, and you're like, oh my goodness, now I'm on this massive high out of nowhere because of we have the foundation from 2 seasons of Mando that now we're building off of. But then for the finale, it goes back to the foundation of the first 4 episodes of Book of Boba Fett, which was significantly lower than the foundation for Mandalorian. And so that change between episodes 6 and 7 is going to create it's going to be like near impossible to have that satisfactory finale. But Andor, I think we're by far, between all the Star Wars shows, on the most consistent plot crescendo of any of the shows. Even Kenobi. Even more consistent than Kenobi. In terms of what the show is saying, the visuals, the lore that's being added, the character connections, and how their connections grow with each other. I think Andor's on the most consistent incline through the first 4 episodes of any show. Which means that by the time we get to season 1 finale and season 2 finale, that foundation and crescendo is going to be larger than any of the plot building that we've had for any of the other Star Wars show. If you think about it that way. I don't know if anyone in the chat understood anything I was just talking about for the last 15 minutes.
I'm not going to lie, I zoned out a little bit.
Yeah,
Basically,
I know, because I brought analytics and semi-math into it. And
well, why don't we leave that as our conclusion? Basically, I'm happy about the direction Andor is going. I am curious because, this could just be a first 3 episode thing because that very much felt like an arc in and of itself. But I wonder if, is it going to be another episode here before they go and try to do their mission there?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm wondering, just based on the way, I'm curious if it's going to follow the same format. We have another episode between now and when the mission happens, and then mission happens episode 3. And then there will be a reset, and then there will be, another 3-episode arc. I could be wrong. It feels like the way it ended up.
Saying it's going to be 3-episode chunks. We're going to get 4 3-episode arcs.
Maybe. I think that was discussed previously, right? But anyway, just a thought. Let's talk. We haven't talked much about Rings of Power. Let's discuss what happened. I do apologize if you're not into one of these things and we're talking about it, because I know when it comes to Star Wars, we're all here. But then when we get into Rings of Power territory or House of the Dragon, it splits off. So I do apologize if you're not into 2 of these 3 or one of the 3 topics. But there's so much ground to cover. And I've literally, y'all, I am is this what it's like to be, a full-blown YouTuber because I'm just like like editing like crazy.
Thank you, Alice. I'm glad you love it.
Having a great time
I'm
giving
trying.
us the detailed info. We love it. Yeah, you
I
bring the analytics.
I'm trying to bridge the gaps and connect the dots, and like obviously Mando season 2 finale was incredible. Boba Fett was not at that level, so what's the difference? And why? And I think that the build up and the foundation over 2 seasons to get to season 2 finale, and then season 2.5 and Book of Boba Fett builds right off of that. So if season 3 builds right off of that of Mando, then, you know, it's just increasing the foundation. You know? And with Book of Boba Fett, you have 4 episodes, and then 2 totally random episodes, and then a finale. The flow is kind of distracted. But with Andor, we have 4 consistent episodes of building up the plot. So if that just keeps going up, then the payoff and the finale in season 2 is going to be awesome.
Hans YOLO. I love that username. That's freaking genius. I hope they do the heist tonight. The trailer has all those cool colors, which they were saying only happens. Yeah, I feel like they were building it up to happen tonight, or maybe it will, you know, maybe episode will end mid-heist and it'll be broken into 2 episodes. So maybe it'll start tonight and won't be concluded. Who knows? That would be interesting, especially considering they have a very short window of time to like execute. I don't know. We'll find out, but I'm excited regardless, especially since we're getting more now into the politics on Coruscant, and I think Mon Mothma is going to be more present. But anyway, skirting over to Rings of Power, which had a banger of an episode this week. Like I said, literally like a freaking movie. And for me, this episode has felt the most like The Lord of the Rings. Not that the show needed to feel, because I do like that it has had a very different vibe, similar to The Hobbit. Like that, those 3 movies have their own aesthetic and feel to them, and it's a different type of, I don't know, it's a different experience when you watch them, different color palettes, different, you know, a different vibe, a different tone, a different mood. Nicholas Brown, what's up? And Rings of Power has done the same for itself. It has a completely its own feel to it. But I really did like that this latest episode this week, it channeled the OG Lord of the Rings energy, and it got dark. That's why I was
literally,
like, it's
the sun
not,
was gone. It was very dark.
It is not becoming family friendly. Well, I'm also talking about orcs literally just. I can't even verbalize it. I don't even want to say it. No. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you saw the episode. How many hours until the release for Andor tonight? We got 3 hours. T-minus 3 hours. Speed mode.
Yeah, Lord Fowl, that's a great point. I wouldn't want to be in Adar's shoes because of what he tried to do to Sauron. Which is fantastic. Like, you know that line was laid there purposefully. And when Sauron does show up and does return, Adar is going to get completely demolished. Obliterated.
That's why he's escaped.
Tortured.
He's like, I'm getting out of these chains, I'm going. No. But, yeah, no, I really like... He is a very Lord of the Rings, Tolkien-esque character, I feel like, if you ask me. But yeah, do you have a Sauron theory? I don't. I'm just kind of, I see what other people are saying, and I'm like,
well, I don't know.
We'll see.
Because I am confused by Adar saying that he killed Sauron. And it's like, okay, if he killed Sauron, like, we know he didn't actually kill Sauron. And, like, is Sauron just, like, Palpatine, where he's, like, yeah, maybe he killed his actual, like, flesh and, like, body in the flesh, but his spirit moved on to some other body or some other person, or his soul exists. Like, isn't it a thing where his spirit corrupts multiple people at the same time?
Sauron?
Yeah. And, like, obviously when you get to, the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, like, he doesn't have a physical body, but it's just his spirit is floating in the air, It's a big old eye. Like it's that's something I never understood, how he lives on. Like, is it just because his soul is a part of the ring? Is that what it is? And like, since the ring lives, he's truly never dead. But in this case, where we're on the timeline, the rings haven't been forged
like a
yet.
Horcrux.
So yeah, like that's something I've never truly understood. But I've never read the book, so I've never read any of the books, so I don't really know. But obviously, when you get to Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, like, he's not in physical form; it's just a spirit. But my understanding is because the Ring of Power that was forged is still there and not destroyed, then Sauron's always going to be alive.
Lurking.
And he's not truly gone and decimated until the ring is tossed into the fires of Mount Doom. But at this point, the ring isn't there yet. So is it that he is in a different version of non-physical form where we find now? And then the physical form is going to end up being the Meteor Man or Halbrand or the M&M people or...
Oh my god.
Or is he multiple of those people? Or is it the forging of the ring that's going to actually create his being to come back, or his physical form? So I'm clueless. I don't know.
See, here's the thing. I know Halbrand has been a contender from the start when it comes to theories, and as it's progressed, he has become more and more suspicious. It's like, he's gotta be, like, every episode, it kind of is more and more like, it could be him, but I would just, I mean, I guess there would be symbolism in it. I don't really know, but I would just absolutely hate what that would do to the female protagonist of Galadriel. Like,
what?
Because the whole freaking
trust him.
Yeah, the whole point of this season has been her alliance with him, her trying to convince him to see the good in himself, her literally being his biggest cheerleader. She could have freaking, like, not had to give a crap about him.
Yeah.
Like, she literally does not have to be this invested in him at all. And like, mainly, yes, she does need something from him, but she needs his help in her venture. So perhaps her judgment has been clouded by that. Like, she's just trying to get to Middle Earth, trying to take on Sauron, trying to defeat the enemy and avenge her brother. But I just would be so... I feel like it's a really...
She's gonna have to kill him.
Perhaps.
And that's going to make it even more emotional.
I feel like, actually, you're freaking right. Especially because, alright, I guess she meets her mans after this because...
Who?
Know, her actual husband.
Who's that?
Celeborn. He's in, oh my god, blanking. Freaking... Fellowship of the Ring. And he's, I believe, there on the ship when they go to... You know him.
What?
You know him. You know him.
Who?
Give me one sec.
That's her husband?
Yes.
Oh.
Where the heck is Celeborn in Rings of Power? First article that comes up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, you could be right, because I also did not want them to develop into a romance. I'm like, you can have a non-romantic relationship between two characters. Like, I didn't want it to be going that route. It was very much a Raylo thing for me. I was like, no, they don't need to be romantically involved.
Yeah, Alice, that's what Alice is saying in this message she sent. Like, if there was a romantic relationship in the book, then obviously...
Was that mentioned in the Silmarillion?
Has to be.
Honestly, so much went down in the Silmarillion that I forget. But I feel like she was with Celeborn for a while. I don't know. I guess we'll find out, but you could be right. Shoot, is that what they're doing? Is that what they're establishing, a romance, and then eventually the truth's gonna come out and she's gonna have to kill him? But that would still just, like, be... That's such a bold move on behalf of the writers, I feel like. I guess, yes, her having to kill him would be a huge internal conflict, and it would just be a big evolution for her character, but if it doesn't come to that somehow, and it just is revealed that Halbrand is Sauron, and then she doesn't kill him, or doesn't go down like that, like, that's really bold, I feel like. I don't know, because I know that people... can make a whole other video on this topic. People freaking ripping her to shreds, ripping the actress's performance apart. Like, people are... When I say people, I think I mostly mean... A lot of people don't like her character, which is fine, or at least the way her character is being portrayed and
well, it is different
performed in the
because
show.
she is like the supreme sorceress
Yes.
come Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
And now there's no evidence of an ounce of magic at all. Right? Or
Yes,
sorcery
but
at all.
like,
So, I mean, we're going to get to that point. We know we're going to get to that
that's
point.
not what
We know we're
people...
going to get to the point.
People aren't complaining much
very
about
different.
that, though. They're complaining about the way the character has been depicted. But what was I gonna say? I really freaking like her character a lot. I love her performance, and I think it's just a really ballsy move to write the leading female heroine to have this arc where she's so aligned with and invested in this guy, only then for him to become the thing she swore to destroy. Something just doesn't
but we
sit
know,
right about that
we
with
know
me.
They've laid such a obvious foundation of he's done something in his past that he's ashamed of and he won't even admit what it was. And that's going to come, we're going to get that reveal at some point, and that's going to come back to haunt him.
I love her character, the way she's portrayed, the actress, everything about her is what I would expect from her when she was younger. I'm glad, Alice. I'm glad. I don't want to make generalizations, but, like, I think it must be just, like, a guy versus girl thing. Like, girls like her, guys don't. I don't know. I'm not...
I like her.
You like her? Okay, well, it
Yeah.
seems like the majority of people who don't
I don't have a problem with it.
are guys. I don't know. Not to make generalization. Hallbrand keeps asking Adar, do you remember me? Well, I feel like they alluded to the fact... Alright, I want to hear other people's thoughts on this, because they had a brief moment when Hallbrand wanted to finish the job after that amazing horse chase. I saw Charlie talk about it earlier. Yeah, the stunts in that scene, that was phenomenal. I hope no horses were harmed in the making that. But anyway, I doubt it. But during their face-off and confrontation there with Adar under the blade, Hallbrand is saying, like, you know, do you know me? And Adar is kind of taunting him and then pitches, oh, perhaps I killed someone dear to you, perhaps a woman and a child. And I want to hear other people's thoughts, because I was like, does this mean Hallbrand was a father and had a wife and child that died? Which would be dark, which would be really dark. But also be like, he's been freaking salty and, like, in his feels since we've known him. Like, he obviously does not get off on a cheerful foot, and I would not describe him as cheerful at all, because the whole time he's just been freaking angsting over this. But I was like, that would be deep, that would be dark. But then could it also be a younger sibling and his mother? What's the combination? A woman and a child.
I don't know.
Well, what do you think? I think a wife and child would be a much more impactful and high stakes. I don't know. I guess losing your mother and a sibling is also bad. Either is bad. Either is really bad.
No, I think ideally you would think wife and child, right?
Yeah. I do have to give shout out to Charlie. I've been watching just in case fools in the comments don't worry. Yeah, Charlie's been doing a lot of heavy lifting, because those videos have not been doing great in terms of the comment section. And I will admit, nobody's asked, but I didn't actually film a reaction to last week's episode. I knew it was kind of going to be exciting. My younger brother and I had been texting about it, and he planted the seed in my head. He was like, this better be like Helm's Deep level battle coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? You're right. And I kind of just really wanted to watch it on the 4K television just once, because you guys maybe don't know this. You probably do, because you can probably tell that I literally film my reactions. I watch everything on my laptop, which is not the ideal way to watch, especially that show. And I really just wanted to watch it on the TV. But of course, it turned out to be a banger of an episode. So I'm like, all right, I'll react to the next episode in the finale, because I think things are going to get even more wild now that, kaboom. But... so in case anyone's been wondering, there's not going to be a reaction to that one, but I'm also curious, because all I hear from are the haters on those videos. Like, I get a pretty good consensus of how the true Tolkien fans feel. Like, I don't mean that in a mocking way, but that seems to be a huge justification for a lot of the mean comments I get. Like, I'm a true Tolkien fan and this show stinks. Like, which is fine. You can feel that, but the people who come to comment are essentially just the trolls that are looking for any video discussing Rings of Power on the internet and just going to comment. So I need to just give Charlie a shout out because he's been doing a lot of heavy lifting lately. Like, so much. He's been putting in so much of his own time to help, like, just make it so that I don't have to see those. So thank you to Charlie.
Shout out to you, Charlie.
Yes, he's the best. But
Master Sheep.
yes, glad
Welcome.
you finally caught a stream. But anyway, what were we saying? Oh, yeah, so anyway, I never made a reaction to that video. So I don't know how people who've been disliking the show so far received that episode because I never posted a video to get feedback about it, but I'm curious to see going forward. I'm curious. If you didn't like that episode, let me know why, because I only saw good things about it online. The digital goblins. Yes, literally. Charlie is always on top of it, so are you, Sean. Keep up the great work. Great work, Charlie and Sean. Indeed, indeed. Silly haters don't know when to remain silent. Like, you do not know if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Agreed, agreed. And normally I try to have a thick skin, but when it comes to the channel, I'm fine with, if you don't like it, voice your opinion.
Yeah,
respectfully and peacefully.
Both talk negative opinions. I mean, maybe more so me than you, but we both talk negative opinions or critiques of things. But it's not like, harassing creators or
yes, it's a completely different
actors
thing.
and actresses. It's just critiquing the business decisions or how things might appear or plot points that aren't great, but it's not personal attacks on the individuals of anybody.
No, and that's what it is, though. I'm just also I want to make a video on this, like a deep dive into why is the Lord of the Rings fandom the worst of all of these? Like, I'm getting a taste of each. I previously thought that the Game of Thrones fandom was pretty tame, but it's kind of not. I've learned from my reaction videos. I'm like, whoa, people have strong feelings about this too. But like Lord of the Rings fandom came out of nowhere, and it's just like, how did this happen? How did this get to this place? I kind of wish I was more online during when The Hobbit came out, because I don't even curious now if it has always been like this or if it's just from Rings of Power. I don't know.
Well, it's only the second live action piece of media in Lord of the Rings history. So third.
Yeah, I know.
Third. With Peter Jackson trilogy. And
are any fandoms tame? LOL. I am in search for the tamest one, Sean.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar. That is a healthy fandom.
Not a lot of.
That could change
critiques.
Though, with the Netflix show coming out.
Yeah.
That could change. Savor it now. We gotta savor it now.
Good.
I knew that sword was going to be used to make Mount Doom erupt. I'm glad. I'm glad you had a hunch. Lord of the Rings is sneaky because it's like you have diehard fans you will never think are diehard. Yes, I see what you're saying. They're very right. The cast is not to blame for the bad decisions made by a company. Yeah, the fact that when people take things out on the cast or crew, that's where it's seriously just please. No. And I think I say this all the time, but people forget. That show, any of these shows we're all watching have 5 minutes worth of credits because that's how many hundreds, if not thousands, probably thousands of people worked on a show like Rings of Power.
No.
People forget about every single person involved in the production of a show like that when they make hate comments and have solely, say, Amazon Prime in mind. It's you realize Amazon might not see what you have to say, but one of the random crew members, not random, one of any other crew members,
Yep.
or like people who worked and contributed to this show and spent years of their life freaking waking up probably at 2 o'clock in the morning to go get to set, get ready, get freaking prepped, shoot for like 14 hours a day, get 5 hours of sleep. Like, that's the reality. For a show like that is probably...
Yeah.
All these actors were probably freaking sleep deprived. Like, that's when you see all of these, like, behind the scenes photos and people, like, sneak photos of their fellow actors, like, taking naps and falling asleep on set. It's because these people are worked to the bone. Like, those are their hours to get these shows made, and the crew too. The crew has to stay longer sometimes. Like, it's just wild, like, the amount of work they put in, and I don't think people recognize that these shows don't just pop out of thin air and happen without people like us having to dedicate so much of their time and energy to it. So God forbid they see a hate comment that is directed towards Amazon, but how could you not internalize that? And if seeing a comment that's like, oh my gosh, Amazon stinks, Rings of Power is awful. If you're a crew member and you see that, you can't help but feel like, I freaking spent so much of my life on this, and this is how people are talking about it. Because people don't talk with those people in regards. And it's also so much easier to say she is on the internet when nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, I mean, and that's, if it's generic just complaints and things like that, like, oh, the show sucks. Like, yeah, then that obviously is very generic and very not specific. And it's just a blanket statement that basically is targeted at the whole, everybody who worked on it. Like, everybody who worked on it would say, oh, see someone say, oh, the show sucks, then it's like, oh, okay, that's tough to swallow. But if it's more like, if there's genuine complaints or critiques and things, and it's talked about in a, conversational manner out of, like, love for the franchise and the show, then, people are, that's easier pill to swallow. People will be like, oh, I understand that point of view. And if it's a plot or, budget or character thing, like, that all comes from the showrunners and it's either the creative runners or the financial runners, right? Like, you could split it into two people, whoever leads both group. Technically, they're the one who makes all the decisions. And, everyone underneath that, whether it's a director or a producer or the actors, the actresses, the extras, the, makeup artists, costume artists, VFX artists, like, everything under that is all flowed down from the top. And so,
Zach, what's up?
So
Glad to see you for a little bit.
Everybody has to do what they can with the constraints, with time constraints, financial constraints, lore constraints, like, even, anyone who's going to do a Star Wars show, or, particularly Star Wars, has to be bound by the lore and the canon. And, they might have a really good idea, but someone in a, like the story group or someone might say, oh, like, we can't actually do this because of this, this, and this. And so they have to change their vision. And, and if they have a specific vision and the director has a vision, but the budget isn't there to bring the vision to life in the way they want, then they have to make sacrifices and things. And so you never know the whole picture. But I think that if, even if you have a critique and it might impact a specific person, like,
Alice.
If you come at it from a, genuine, just, concern or critique in a polite manner.
But it's like, I'll also hear you out if, like, I appreciate the comments that will voice their opinion and they'll say, I genuinely haven't been liking the show. Here's why. Like, when they back it up, bring receipts, share your perspective, and I have no option but to respect that, because we all have our own life experiences, our own preferences, our own things that make us happy, things that make us upset. Like, everybody has a different take on every single piece of media, so I am not out here expecting everyone to love everything. Thomas Pond, what's up?
Thomas.
But, like, so I would even, if someone were to open their critique and say, genuinely, I think this show sucks, but then went on to share, here's why, and gave actual reasons of why they genuinely feel like, and for that reason, I think it personally sucks, in my opinion. I don't like using that word, but that's, you know, I would even,
the show stinks.
I would hear that out. If you were to, you can say that, and if you back it up, I'll listen. I'll listen to what you have to say if you come with a reason of why. But I think with Rings of Power, a lot of people have just come to my comment section and said, this is absolute garbage, and then leave. It's like, I genuinely want to know why you think that. I don't want to write you off and just delete your comment, but I will, because that's not productive.
No.
And I don't, like, I want to hear more from what you have to, like, why do you think that? I genuinely want to understand how you, like, what makes you feel that way. And if you can say it respectfully and maturely, I'll leave your comment. Like, I'm not going to delete it if you, like, actually, let's just say I've never had to delete more comments than these Rings of Power videos. I have unlocked a new corner of the internet that is, like, Brian, it's so true. It's adorable how, like, 25% of your shows are, like, handling fan outrage, and can't we all just be nice or give reasons? It's true. Like, the internet's just such a rough place, and I also just get so frustrated that, you know, YouTube in particular, just, it is hard being a content creator and trying to be positive, and it means the literal world to me that you guys think that, to hear one of you say that we are the brightest lights, like, in the Star Wars fandom, like, some of your favorite creators, like, you have no idea how much that even just means, because I try so hard. We have a lot of lights on us right now, but I try so hard to be that in a fandom that I know, where the second you type in Star Wars on YouTube, the first things that are going to be recommended to you are people ripping it to shreds, people saying X, Y, here's, like, all the reasons we know that people like to just tear Star Wars apart, or, you know, it's going to be hate content, or clickbait with horrible thumbnails about Kathleen Kennedy, like, horrible things. I know, and that's, it bothers me so much as a YouTuber in particular, because I know that's what the algorithm likes. I don't have anywhere near as many views as those channels do, because people like that. And heck, even us good people, like, I'm not saying they're not good people, but even someone who, like, it's just human nature, like, even I would go and just to see what they have to say, because, like, we like to hear people rant. It's fun to hear people, like, go off and get mad and tear,
especially when it's about the same things that you're mad at.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, like, if something like Kenobi, for example, I think it's a pretty standard complaint, you know, from a visuals perspective, and, you know, it wasn't given the budget that type of story deserves. And so if someone makes, like, a satirical video talking about, you know, going off on how Kenobi looked and the visuals, and a lot of people who were upset by that would go and watch that video and get a lot of entertainment out of it.
Well, it also helps to validate how you feel.
Yeah.
And it helps to fuel those, like, you're right. Like, I'm not alone thinking this.
No.
But I think it's human nature. I'm guilty of this too. Like, it's the same reason we watch drama. Like, we want conflict. We want gossip. That's what we all, it can be the most entertaining. And I'm guilty of it. We used to watch some of those videos just to, like, genuinely see how people were talking about the sequels when we didn't necessarily agree with them, but, like, just to be an informed fan and see what other people are saying. And it's because it's the first things that pop up on your YouTube homepage. So it's like, that's what gets me to my core the most. Like, no matter how hard I try to be positive sometimes, the algorithm doesn't care. Like, the algorithm doesn't want you to be positive. It wants you to freaking stir the pot and be angry, and that's what will get views. So that's what gets me sometimes. Like, no matter what, I could make any video, but if I put some wild thumbnail on it and said, Disney Star Wars sucks, that would inherently get more views than anything if I were to just say, than anything else that I've made, honestly. Like, not even kidding. Maybe with the exception of, like, Kenobi reaction videos. And you guys know that's not how I feel about Disney Star Wars. That's just a hypothetical, but
No.
that's just the way it works on the tube. But yeah, anyway, end rant. But basically, point is, be nice. It's wild out here. I guess that's the moral of this whole stream. It's like, there's so much great content out right now. Like we were saying, like these big blockbuster projects that are literally redefining the standards that we have for like streaming content, like television shows, not even feature film shows. Freaking Andor looks like a feature film quality, like storytelling. Same with all of these shows. Like literally they are all setting a new standard. But with that comes like turbulence in all three of these fandoms simultaneously, and I think in a way it kind of like it just feeds on each other, and there's more divisiveness on fandom Twitter now than ever because every show is popping off right now, and I'm guilty. You guys hear me all the time. I literally I spend a lot of time just looking at reading threads on Twitter and seeing people go after each other. And one thing I'm curious, I feel like as fandoms, we're at a point where it's just like, and I am guilty of this as well, when it comes to people on the other side having different opinions and inherently thinking like, well, your opinion is wrong. Like, people aren't allowed to just feel... Sorry, a fire alarm just started going off elsewhere. But people aren't allowed to have any opinions these days or share anything on the internet without somebody coming for them, questioning their opinion, trying to invalidate it, and saying why it's wrong. In all of these fandoms, we just can't let each other be.
Yeah, but it's, the silent majority and the general consensus. Usually it's easy to tell how the majority of people feel. Right? Regardless, if you don't, like, if you're just watching the show, you're not involved in internet discourse or dork discourse. You're just casually watching the show and you're ingesting it on your own, and you're just like, wow, usually the majority of the audience is on the same page. Like, wow, that was a great episode. Or, wow, that was not a great episode. Right? Like, usually most people are kind of on the same page with how it feels.
But I think regardless, I think it's still very evident that people just can't let each other be. If I were to go out and tweet right now, I actually liked The Last Jedi, end quote.
Yeah, half of the planet would agree with you.
But the people who wouldn't, people can't just look at that anymore and say, that's your opinion and I respect it and I'm going to keep scrolling.
The majority of people do because they don't respond. The majority of people don't respond.
No, I'm the one on Star Wars Twitter, and I'm telling you, anytime anyone mentions
have a Twitter account.
The Last Jedi, it starts a 50-tweet thread and a huge explosion of arguments and people attacking.
Guess how many thousands of people see it and don't do anything?
Because we're all watching it. We're all reading the rest of what other people are saying. Yeah. It's just, all right, moral of the story is, we need to just value everyone's opinion, however they feel about any of the shows we've discussed, or anything that you're passionate about. And I think people forget, if you're chronically online, like myself, it's very, very, very easy to forget that there are other people on the other side of that username, of that avatar, of that profile picture. And I am guilty of this too. When I get a hate comment, my immediate thought is, what can I say to make them mad? Or what could I say to really, piss them off? And I have to check myself and be like, maybe this isn't a troll, but, a real... Whoever this is, it's a real human being, I would hope. And I don't want to say something that would ruin their day or insult them. I have to check myself too. But I think a lot of us aren't. When we're interacting within the fandom, we only see each other's usernames. And unless you go to a meetup or something, or have a stream like we do and get to know people that you're talking to, it's easy to check your kindness at the door and just be so impassioned with what you're talking about that you forget we're all fans. We're all people. At the end of the day. And it's all fiction. I know. I hate to say it, but it's literally all fiction. I think we all forget about that as well. But anyway, that's the end of my rant. But I feel like we've covered everything. We went off about House of the Dragon earlier. We discussed Andor after a big Mandalorian sidebar. But I feel like it's important. Like, I might make a video about that. Because I feel like I want to do some deep dives into how I genuinely feel like there was a shift.
I literally laid out the entire analysis of the book, and you were falling asleep during it.
Yeah,
So
all right.
Clearly,
well,
you want to make a video
make
on
one
it.
that's easier to follow. Okay.
Okay, you're gonna use the drawing. Yeah, drawing would make it easier.
Yes.
Versus just
Whoops.
hand motions.
Don't want that. But anyway, we might sign off, folks.
No, wait.
Huh?
I'm not done.
You're not done?
No.
I'm really freaking thirsty. Why don't you keep talking? I'm gonna go get a drink.
Well, I'm not that almost not done, but I had a couple other points.
Okay, make your points. Make your points.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally you're right. Like, there's going to be a couple loud people on either side that will come together and defend their opinions. But I do think that the majority of viewers are on the same page the majority of the time.
Well, we also have to remember.
And Last Jedi is the extreme anti-example of that, where literally like half and half of fans loved it and half hated it, and it's pretty divisive. But for most of the Star Wars shows, it's been, everybody's been kind of on the same page, I feel like, in terms of whether they love it or not. Mando Season 1 was pretty universally loved. Mando Season 2, even more so, pretty universally loved. Book of Boba Fett, for the most part, until the finale.
Thank you.
Pretty,
Keep up positivity, calm and tact.
Thank you, Brian.
Tom and Kat, and please get back to me. Thank you, Brian, for tuning in and for offering your participation and your words of wisdom. But yes, we will fight for the positivity. Keep going. What were you saying? I'm so thirsty. Sorry, my throat is just drying up by the second.
And then for Kenobi, I think that, story-wise, after all is said and done, is really well received. I think the majority of people really loved how the story ended up and the things that we got in the show, and I mean, at least the biggest kind of universal complaint I've seen is that you look at Andor and it looks incredible, and then Kenobi just doesn't look the same. But like we were saying before, if the general audience consensus complaint is it looks visually behind other shows, and that's it, then that's great, because that means the plot was awesome, the action was awesome, the character development was awesome, the dialogue was awesome, and all the moments and nostalgia were were awesome.
Yeah, well, you have some alone time. You can talk with them. I need water, but I don't want to rush what you're saying. Keep talking. Just keep talking. Let the people have some alone time too.
I don't think they want a long time.
Yes, they do. Look at Charlie.
Oh, they don't. All right, Charlie, you and I can have a one-on-one. Then anyone else who wants to stay, feel free. But yeah, I mean, I think that majority of the time, general consensus is easy to measure and see without getting too wrapped up in the back and forth, extreme polar opposite views kind of clashing with each other. But yeah, and so with Andor, I think it's pretty good, good looking from here on out. I think that, like we were saying earlier, we have the slow, the crescendo effect. Even with House of Dragon 2, I mean, it's been kind of building up characters, following the same plot lines, giving us good payoffs in each episode, and I think both shows are primed to end up at a really, really good spot. And then, I mean, Rings of Power, it's been, I think, more so hopping around than the other two shows, you know, because we have the, you know, the Harfoots and, you know, like they weren't at all in the last episode, but previous episodes been more involved. You know, we didn't see Meteor Man or anything at all in the last episode. Last episode was solely focused on the, you know, the men of the West making their way into Middle Earth and the Battle of the Uruk and the Southland folk. But then between episodes, you know, it's jumping around, focusing on different people and different things. So,
I'm recovered.
Yeah, but I think that still at the end of last episode, it's all coming together to one story. So we started the show talking about, you know, if you only had to pick one, which would it be? I think that if you think about all three of the shows.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. You wanted to have the last word so you could bring it back to be like, and so this is why this entire 1.5 hour stream proves my point that I was right. That rings up. Keep talking.
No,
keep talking.
that's not where I was going.
Okay, where are you going?
Not where I was going.
Go with it. Go with it.
That's not at all where I was going.
Sure.
It's not where I was going.
Go where you were going.
I was going to the fact that all three shows, I think we are in for a treat, and they're doing a really good job with the build-up for when we get the finales of all three of these shows. They're going to be really, really good, and they're going to really, really deliver. That's what I was saying. The first point of the show was, which one would you only watch if you had to pick only one of them? But now, on the brighter side, and on the great situation that we all find ourselves in, is that we have all three shows going on, and they're all three building up and being, you know, each episode is building on the previous one, and it's so far been a good, you know, at least I feel, good plot continuation for all three shows. So I think when all three of these shows wrap up for this season, we're all going to be having a lot to talk about. And I think the majority of us are going to be pretty pumped and pretty excited.
Okay.
So
I should have heard you out, but
yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
you're jumping the gun.
All right.
We already all decided that Rings of Power was the correct answer in the beginning of the show, so we didn't need to reiterate that here at the end.
What? You decided that?
No,
Oh,
well, we got to do a
my.
poll, so everybody else
No.
can officially voice.
Okay. Wait.
Yes.
Wait. Great poll.
I need a third option.
Type your
I
question.
need a third option. All right. Well, it's not a good word choice.
Keep in mind, though, our audience is mostly...
I need a third option. Por favor. Thank you. Nope. Yeah. So you've all listened to us talk for an hour and a half. And please cast your vote. Because I'm definitely very curious.
TMoney. I need to go to bed, but I wanted to stop.
Everybody is thinking.
Also, Kat, did I hear your neck snap? Yes, sorry, I cracked my neck. I forgot it. I forgot we were live. I forgot you could hear that. See, yeah, our audience is skewed because we have mostly Star Wars.
Yeah, it's majority Star Wars here, and that's the
Okay,
foundation
House
of your
the Dragon.
channel and stuff. So
Has the dragon sneaking up?
yeah, I think fave so far, I'm in the Andor boat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fave so far, I'm in the Andor boat.
Interesting.
But if I have to think about the finale of the Rings of Power season versus the finale of Andor, which one is going to be the bigger, more epic, greater payoff in terms of like big world impact finale, I'm currently leaning towards Rings of Power finale.
Yeah.
But I hope that the Andor finale is the best one because I love Star Wars the most.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I would agree.
I hope Andor has the best payoff and the best finale. But Alice, that's totally fine.
I love Alice.
That's completely fine.
She's so dedicated.
Yeah. Very interesting.
19 votes, and there's 34 of you
Very
here.
Interesting.
Come on, y'all. That's only half the votes. There's more death in Texas in House of the Dragon. Agreed. Cat stretch. Yeah, I should stretch more. That's the way my neck is cracking these days. I'm not looking forward to the years to come. Andor is the most original for its genre. I do like that. That is a good point. I won't contend with that because I think you're right. And hopefully it helps to reshape. Not that they needed reshaping, but I guess I will retract that, yes. I don't think Star Wars live action shows needed reshaping, but I hope going forward they continue to explore different tones, different ways these shows can play out, different ways of storytelling, taking risks. You know, it sounds like Andor, I think they felt like they were taking a huge risk, making it more mature, making it more of a slow burn, spy thriller themed versus just action, you know, typical Star Wars, like space western. I wouldn't even call it a space western because that is not how it feels like at all. Like, maybe in some ways, but it's a very different side of the galaxy. So I hope going forward, not all Star Wars shows need to be like this, but I just want them all to be something different, like something fresh. Like this is, I don't know where I'm going with that, but all right.
I don't know either, because I'm very much looking forward to Mando season 3 and Ahsoka, and
Yes.
those are going to both be kind of the same tone, I would think. Right? Same
I agree.
showrunners, same type of tone.
I do agree. But my hope is that Andor's been on a whole other level.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't ruin everything that's yet to come for me. Because in terms of the fact that they treated it like a feature film, that it is 12 episodes, like the proper full-blown season, like an extended season, like just more in-depth storytelling. I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, we're gonna end this poll. As we suspected, Andor took the cake. But that was a good. Did not think we were gonna stream for that long tonight, but we really got into it. But I've been excited. I wanted to cover all these different topics because there's just a lot going on at the moment.
We're like average middle point between all three shows, so I think it was a good fitting topic for this week.
Yeah, no.
To touch all three of them and talk about the pros and cons of each.
Shout out to everybody who helped suggest. I can't talk anymore. See, I gotta go recharge because we're gonna probably be streaming over on Evil Ewok in T-minus an hour and like 20 minutes at this point. So I will see you guys over there. I'm gonna go make some caffeine. Because I woke up earlier than I should have this morning. I've been trying to like sleep in on Tuesdays so that I'm charged and ready to go till like potentially 1:30 in the morning. But I'm not tonight. So I'm gonna go make a cup of tea. Not even coffee, just tea, and see what that does for me. But I'll catch you guys if you're staying awake over on Evil Ewok on ADHD X Oil. Yes. Let's go. Did you watch that stream at all? I'll fill you in. I don't know. If you were there, you were. If you know, you know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This was really, really fun. And I have yet to do it, but I do want to start streaming gaming again. We're gonna scrap Batman, but I told you guys for the month of October I was gonna play some scarier games. And I know Arkham is scarier, but I promised some people that I would play Alien Isolation, and I want to hold myself to it because I think that would be really, really entertaining for you guys. Maybe not for myself, but I even Googled scary. I told you this. I had gotten suggestions to play Alien, and then I Googled even like what are the scariest video games, and Alien Isolation was the first one to come up, so it's clearly up there. So I think that would be a fun month of October venture. So I don't know when we're gonna get started with that. Maybe not this week, maybe the weekend. Maybe the weekend. We'll see. But that is in the pipeline, so stay tuned for that. I want to do some more like October, like Halloween, scary themed like stuff on the channel.
Carve a pumpkin.
No, you're the one who forbid me from getting one whenever we go to the store. That's not gonna happen. That's so messy. Anyway.
Cooking with cat.
Yeah, we gotta get back into cooking with
Carving
Kat.
pumpkins.
We gotta do a lot. So anyway, thank you guys so much for what Arkham has turned its back on you, Kat. I'm turning my back on it. It's mutual. Anyway.
Yes, Brian, Battle for Middle Earth.
Oh, I do want to play that too.
One of the greatest, PC games of all time.
Yeah.
Battle for Middle
Oh,
Earth.
none of us have PC. We'll figure it out.
It's so good.
Anyway.
So good.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy tonight's episode. Enjoy Thursday's episode of Rings of Power. I will say my reaction to this week's episode might be a little bit delayed. But I will be reacting. Like I said, I took a break for episode 6. I'm gonna get back into it for this week's episode and then the finale next week. Sheesh. So we're getting to the end point. But regardless, enjoy this week's worth of content. Enjoy Andor tonight. I'll see you guys over on Evil Ewok. But until then, hope you guys are doing so well. Thank you so much for hanging out and staying up with us. We love it. We love hanging out with you guys. And thank you for letting us like rant and vent and go off on all these crazy tangents. We appreciate it. But yes, hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And we will see you guys again very, very soon.
Yeah. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Enjoy the episode.